Hello, I'm Jim Cassetta, and this is Pearl River Public Library from home. Today I'm going to talk about local history based on an email question sent to us by Steve Whalen, who is an avid patron of the Pearl River Public Library. The question was about what was the history of Borst Park, B-O-R-S-T. Borst Park is located on North Main Street, and it's a 2-acre park which is currently taken care of and owned by the Orangetown Parks Department. There's a caretaker living in the house now, and it comes with a 2-acre garden orchard which slopes back down along Lewis and Crooked Hill Road. The Borst family was living in the 1890s in Manhattan. Mr. Borst was, Henry Borst Sr. was a dentist practicing in Manhattan. Around 1910, as his children started to get older, he felt they should be taken out of the city and raised in the country. This was very common. Dr. Borst Sr. commuted to the city via the railroad here in town, and his children attended the local schools. When his son Henry graduated, he went to dental school in Manhattan, but came back to Pearl River, married a local girl, and they purchased a plot of land on North Main Street. Now, the family initially had been living in a cider mill in the manager's house along the Pascack Brook. It was the Buyer cider mill, and they made a lot of cider from apples and pears and other fruits that were grown locally by local farmers. The Borsts lived in the house, then built a house on the corner of Jensen Street and Crooked Hill Road, which stands today. My friends Paul and Janine own that home today. And Henry Borst Jr., when he married his bride, purchased his North Main Street plot and built a brick home there. Dr. Borst practiced in Pearl River and Manhattan for many years, probably close to 30. And in his retirement, he had taken up horticulture. And what he did was he had rare plants, and he cross-pollinated plants, grew his apple orchard, and was into plant husbandry. When he died, sometime in the early or the mid-1970s, nobody knew what to do with the property, and it was sort of going to be knocked down. Not sort of, but actually was going to be knocked down. And when the bulldozers came, Ann Witecki, who was a niece of Dr. Borst, had organized a bunch of neighborhood residents and kids, and they got their signs and they protested threw themselves in front of the bulldozers. It was, democracy in action. Town board meeting was held, and a lot of people turned out and said, don't destroy it. The town took it and ran it as a park, and they've been taking care of it ever since. But it was very interesting that this piece of property was saved. This was in the 70s, where it was very popular to protest for just about anything and everything, the 60s and 70s, and it saved Borst Park. And now we have this beautiful park today, which many times I've read the paper and had a cup of coffee and a bagel on the benches in the springtime when the apple trees are in bloom. And it's very enjoyable. It's very wonderful to have this piece of open ground in Pearl River in a residential area. And it is full of wildlife. I've seen wild turkeys and deer also, eating apples that have dropped from the trees. So that's the history of Borst Park. And Steve, thanks for asking the question. I hope you all enjoy this, and stay safe at home. Bye-bye.